Our next assignment is a kitchen, and if you look through your package today, you'll see a photograph of it. Now the client is really happy with their kitchen. They love it. They love that there is cabinetry all along the bottom, but the top part of their wall is virtually free. The ceiling is high. It's a 10-foot ceiling this time. Our eye level is at 6 feet. So we've got a high eye level so we can see lots of the tops of things, which is really helpful when you're in a kitchen to be able to see the top of your island, top of your countertops, and so on. But they want to move their table over here. They want you to put in a banquette and put a table in front of it. They also want a wine refrigerator. And although it's nice and bright in the day with the 2 skylights and the window and the one door that's all windows, they still in the evening would like to have more light. So they want a nice large ceiling light fixture. And if you look at the floor plans that include these renovations, it'll show you where these things are going to be placed. So here's our floor plan with the renovations. So here's the placement for our large ceiling light fixture. Here is the banquette. You can see O is the banquette, and P is the round table, and Q is the wine refrigerator. Now, all of these letters correspond to this sheet. And this sheet is going to tell you what all of these things are. And as far as I could do it, I gave you the heights, the widths, and the depths of everything. So you can check back and forth when you're making your box drawing, which is the first thing that's due. You can check back and forth here, and you can also check the elevations. There are 2 elevations. And there's also a video that goes into depth about explaining which way they're facing. But just in brief here, I'll explain that if you look at your photograph, I think that's the most helpful thing to look at. If you look at this elevation, it's showing you the front of the refrigerator. It's showing you the cabinetry above the sink and that bank of cabinetry below. It's also showing you C, and if you look at your sheet, C is the base cabinetry on the right wall, and F is our island. So we're seeing the end of the island where the stools are. So this elevation is as if we were standing right in the center of all of this and looking straight back to the fridge. Okay, and there's our table. P is our table, hopefully. Yeah, P is our table. Our banquette is O. That's the back of the banquette there. So you see all of this information works together. Your elevations and your floor plan, everything works all together, just like last time. Now, you've probably noticed that there is a lot of overlapping. The shapes themselves are not complicated, but there is an awful lot of overlapping. And one thing that's pretty distinguishable about our little kitchen is that we have some task lighting as well. So these 3 beautiful lights above our island, they have to be placed just so that they're hitting in the right spot over the island, that they will help you with your tasks, that they will illuminate what you're doing. So we're going to have to take our time when we're building those. And in the videos, I've tried to put things that are a little more complex by themselves so that you can see what I'm doing. But you're going to have to figure out a way to distinguish things one from the other as you're working. As usual, we're going to work from the back of the room forward, but in doing so, there's going to be a lot of lines underneath by the time you get to the island and the banquette and the table that you're going to have to ignore in order to be able to draw these pieces. But hopefully the videos will be able to help you. But there's a limit to what I can show you when there are so many lines in play. So I'm encouraging you to, once again, use your imagination and go through this until you're familiar, and especially watch that video to help you become familiar with all of these elements and how they fit. one overlapping the other together to make this room. So as I mentioned, the client is happy with their kitchen. What they want from you is to find some references and find some objects that are going to fit in with what they've already got here. You can change the stools. They may need an upgrade. You can find the banquette that best suits this image. Now there is an image in color on slate. I put that up for you to see. You can change the style of these lights, especially since we're putting in another light. Go ahead and change those if you like. And you can maybe change the cabinetry above the refrigerator, since we're going to need cabinetry above our wine refrigerator as well. So that's not even in here, but the wine refrigerator, if you look at your floor plan or even your elevation, your wine refrigerator goes beside the real refrigerator. And not only that, we're going to extend the cabinetry so that we have built-in cabinetry above the wine refrigerator as well. So this all works as a piece. So don't forget to add that in. Depending on the references you choose, yours might look something like this, but it might look a little very different. You might choose a different light source. Now, please don't be confused by the size of mine. I have to be able to show you things under this document camera, so I have to have small things. Yours is going to be large because it's going to be the size of your grid. So you're going to choose a light fixture. You're going to maybe choose different task lighting, and you're going to maybe choose different stools to park at the end of the island. And you can change maybe you can change the material that this is made of. And I think I've added a little more molding to my cabinetry. But here's our wine refrigerator over here with the cabinetry above. And our table. Everyone's going to make a round table, but your base could look quite different. And maybe, yeah, the base I suppose will be the most difference, but what the material on the top, what it's made of, might be quite different. And the most, I guess, freedom you have of all is what the bench is going to look like for the banquette. That could be quite different. It's going to be custom made because it's only 4.5 feet wide. So you'll have to find something that suits. And the window treatment, what you do up there, you can change that as well. So those few things. The one thing I regret about my drawing is how much detail I put on this window. I think I should have tapered it off like this much sooner. But it does help to balance things out. Once we got this wine refrigerator on, it did help to balance things out a little bit. The first part is just to do your box drawing. Find your reference pictures. So 2 things. Box forms with a figure drawn directly on your grid, and your reference photos. All that you need for reference photos that you're required to have are the ceiling light fixture, the banquette or bench, the round table, the wine refrigerator. You're going to need to find one figure that fits into your environment. Experts in presentation of interior spaces recommend that you talk about the memories that the person that you're designing for is going to make in those spaces. You talk about making the chocolate chip cookies with your daughter, and you talk about all of that so that they can see themselves, really picture themselves in there. That's why we don't put faces on our figures. We want our client to see themselves there. So it helps them in their decision making. They have a completely different mindset than the arts. So it's your job to guide them and to help them communicate better with you, because they just don't speak that language. So the more you put out there, the more they have to respond to, and the more you get to know them. And the substantial object in 1 point perspective, this is the line we're looking for. You see how it bisects each of the boxes in perspective. It bisects them at 45 degrees, right in half. So we can put a 45-degree angle right in. So let's outline our 6-foot eye level first. That's always the most important thing to get on there first. Let's highlight it with the color. When we go to put in our 45-degree angle, just follow that line all the way back to the eye level. This time, It's almost in the corner, so I would say let's put it right in the corner. If I want to draw something over here in 1 point perspective, this is probably not a great place on your grid for you to put it, but remember 1 point, what it is. It's lines at the start that are just like the elevation. They're straight, they have no perspective at all. Got a box without any perspective at all, and I've got a vanishing point I can use, so that's all I need to know now. So I'm hoping in your future that your future will contain, in all of your 2 point perspectives, it will contain some objects that are drawn in 1 point perspective as well, because that's just the look of the world around us. Nothing is all racing to the same 2 vanishing points, is it? So this helps to make it look more real. So here we go, same thing that we've been doing since the very first week. And you see where those cross? I go across and I have my box. So now this could become anything you want. So that's another place that you're free to choose whatever you want to make of this, or wherever you want to put it. You can't put it on a wall because it's in the wrong. See, the wall is going that way and this isn't. So if it were to stick on a wall, it could only stick by one corner. So you can't put it on a wall, but you can put it out in a little bit away from the wall. Just find a good spot for it. To find out how big it is, you have to use your vanishing point. So I have to bring it back to the wall. So I'm going to use my right vanishing point. If I'm going to measure against the wall, and the wall is drawn in 2 point perspective, I have to use 2 point perspective to measure against it. So here I have brought it back to the wall, and you go up the wall, just one corner. All I need is one corner, and that will give me the height. Now I've used this corner. Now I'm using the top corner. I'm going to use my right vanishing point again, and I'm going to pull it along to the wall. So that box, the height of that box is 2 1/3 feet. So 2 feet and about 4 inches. That will tell me how tall it is. If I went to my floor plan and figured where each of these coordinates was on my floor plan, I could tell exactly how big it is. In your floor plan, you could have a deliberate idea of what you want to do. Say you know that you want to make an object that is this big. You bisect your boxes like that, just the way that we found it. You bisect your boxes the same way. Make sure all the corners line up. Now, if I want something a little smaller than that, that doesn't actually go into the corners, I just kind of zip up a little further and use those as a guideline, because it's really hard to determine it if you don't have something like this to guide you. That's my guide, and this is my actual. Okay, and I'll give myself another couple of guidelines up here. And then when I make this line, I have something to help me. Now I can measure, you see. I can say, okay, this is a foot. That's a foot. How many feet is this? It's 1 foot. It's 2 feet. Because you see it's on the diagonal, I couldn't measure it easily, and you can't measure it easily on here. So, and then you see I would take these coordinates and I would map them on my grid, and then I'd have what it is I wanted.